Bretto, can you believe it? The Wellness Summit is almost here.
Oh, I'm so excited. I don't know what to do with myself.
Well, Bretto, it's been 2 long years since our last Wellness Summit, and if you're listening to this, folks, and don't have a ticket, then
What are you doing?
the Wellness Couch family of podcasters gather for 2 days in Melbourne on Saturday, August 25 and 26, featuring
The Queen of Nutrition, Cindy O'Meara.
the rock star of wellness, Dr. Damien Christoph,
Connect with your spirit and soul with Bali Bomb survivor Karen Smith.
self-care is on the menu with Kim Morrison.
Master the art of aging well with the one and only Marcus Pearce.
Oh, shucks, Bretto. What about how to recover from rock bottom with Dr. Brett Hill?
Master your stress with Dr. Maria Zuschman.
Get empowered with Imogen Bailey.
Female health experts Dr. Andrea Huddleston and Ashley Bond.
Master your sleep with Audra Starkey.
The natural nutritionist Steph Lowe. Australian Idol winner Wes Carr.
Woohoo! And Quirky Cooking's Joe Witten and Fuad Kassab and a whole lot more.
Oh, what a lineup, MP. Seriously, why would you not be coming to the Wellness Summit?
Not to mention our world-class exhibition of Australia's most incredible sustainable wellness products and services.
MP, we've done the final layout. There are less than 100 spaces left.
And there's only a few discounted tickets available at thewellnesssummit.com.
Marcus, be there or be square. Zazen Alkaline Water presents the 2018 Wellness Summit, Saturday, August 25 and 26 at the Collingwood Town Hall.
Get in quick, folks. The final release of discounted tickets available at thewellnesssummit.com. See you there, Bretto.
TheWellnessCouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives.
Welcome to Nourishing the Mother, featuring your hosts Bridget Wood and Julie Tenner.
Hello and welcome to Nourishing the Mother. I'm Bridget Wood.
And I'm Julie Tenner. And today's podcast is a saucy title of What Sex Teaches Us About Parenting. The great taboo where they both intersect.
Yeah, I bet you're intrigued on where we're going to take this one.
Yeah. Before we do, we'd love to remind you to jump onto nourishingthemother.com.au and on our homepage, sign up to join our tribe with your email address. So once a week, we can shoot you off an email that has links to everything we've put out in the world, and you can pick and choose where you'd love to dive a little deeper. And occasionally we send you what we call a love letter, a conversation Bridget and I would have between ourselves, or a conversation that is perhaps less commercial,
like
more for the private viewing.
I like how you've said that. Yes,
so nourishingthemother.com.au. Please come join our tribe.
So as part of Jules and I kind of convening and preparing for our sensuality and sexuality course, we've been swapping notes on our sex life lately, haven't we?
Do you know, it's actually been amazing. And I find myself actually finding more freedom in having, or broaching not as openly as I do with you, but broaching conversations about sexuality with other women. And I think what a gift, because it's like being able to be let into someone's world.
Yeah.
Because we can all make assumptions, have ideas, have perceptions, none of which are based on any reality. And how many masks do we all carry around, you know, protecting what we think needs to be protected because it's not really safe to be as we are. So I actually adore the fact that you and I can have these conversations where it is so real that there's, I don't know what it is, there's safety and there's honesty, and it's just makes you relax because you can be so honest.
We're not having to filter it, and it's
no, and there's no competition. There's no, oh, well, you're clearly screwed up or your relationship's in trouble. You know, there's no filter. It's just, this is what it is.
This is what I found, and
and what's this revealing, and what's the next layer, and like I just think those conversations are what fuel you on an evolution.
Absolutely, and we so much become the average of who we spend our time with, and so we each call each other to grow in that area. And so I was debriefing with you on a recent, I think you and I both calling ourselves into more expansion. Sexuality is part of really going there, right?
Totally.
And preparing to teach more. So just the other day I was debriefing with you about my most recent experience, and I was recounting how I had reached a new amazing pinnacle of pleasure.
Just retell us that story, because I just love hearing these stories of women opening and realizing the bliss that exists within them,
So I think I talked about in a podcast a couple of weeks ago how for me, since having kids has been my biggest expansion into my sexuality, which I guess is in line with where women's libidos go in their early 30s. And so, I'd kind of achieved my first orgasm in my late 20s but this opportunity the other night was almost like, okay, I don't have to just get that from oral sex. I can achieve that in sex. And I almost got to that point and I was like, hang on, this is a new sensation that I haven't felt before. I've been able to sustain for this amount of time. And it was like incredible, just that kind of extended feeling of complete bliss, and connection and, also intensity, like fun, like don't want to escape this kind of amazingness. And then, like a kind of roller coaster that so often sex can be, after that high, I kind of plunged into this low. And then also this sort of space of, like, I couldn't go back there again. Like, I couldn't get back to that point. And I was in this, I wouldn't say like numbness or numbing out, but I knew it's almost like I'd uncovered this new awareness and I was now like, back to safety again. Like it was, I just revealed this new capacity within myself and I'd almost gone back into protecting myself again and not able to feel the depths of what I'd felt.
I so get that. I do that. I think on some level, I mean, this is the conversation you and I have. We'll come back to the parenting part.
Yeah, we'll get there. We're building.
This is something I've been really sitting with lately, which is what I think I had said to you, was just this concept of pleasure or ecstasy, if you want to put it that way, that we're so afraid to let go into it. Because when you really release, like you can really only achieve this not by achieving, right? By letting go into nothingness. It's like being willing to step off a platform knowing you might die, literally, or you might survive, but you don't know and you're on this precipice, right? And this is kind of the precipice that I think sex with soul can take us to, because we're taken to our essence. Because really what you're talking about is those intensely blissful situations are from opening beyond the physical. So when the physical opens wider and wider and wider and you find this space of connection to God, which is what you will hear a lot of spiritual circles talking about, being fucked open by God. Yeah. Is this concept
and that's
of
what it was like, being open, fucked like that. Like
yes, that's right. This sense of being opened to God through the experience of your body. And there's so much, like, can you do that? Can you be there free falling almost and be willing to shed and let go of everything, your identity, your ego, your physical form, your attachments to everything you have in this physical world? Can you die in a moment? Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I so get that. Yeah.
And I feel like you can get to and this is the practice of sex, right? Being sacred and knowing our deep capacity to open and connect and to be literally in love through sex. But it's terrifying as well, because you literally have to, in a way, die in order to open. And I think that we get to this point in pleasure where we go, oh, that's enough, back we go. I'll just put my foot back on the edge of that cliff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think this, even myself, as we're moving through this and, certainly bringing sex more consciously and moving that energy through my body. And I notice when I go, or even maybe you've noticed you've been on the edge of an orgasm and you feel like this first wave and you're like, this is the most intense feeling I've ever felt in my life. And I can't wait for this to roll, because who knows where this is going. Then you all of a sudden bring yourself back down. You go, oh, it kind of fizzled out there. Yeah, because you're too scared of your own pleasure, because you still have this story or this capacity to hold on to an identity rather than letting go into nothingness. When your body is stardust is when you are you are everything and you are nothing at the same time. You know, you have no form, yet you have form through virtue of pleasure. I know I'm getting a bit esoteric here, but I'm fascinated by, I'm really honestly fascinated by this tether that you're literally speaking about right now, because I find myself there again and again and again, and I'm asking myself, why do I pull back? Why do I close up? Why, you know, why do I find a distraction as opposed to feeling it more and more and more? You know, it might even be, oh, hang on, I need to take a breath right now. But I don't. I could keep inhaling, but I tell myself, hang on, let that breath go so you can breathe again. But I've lost it by the time I've thought about it. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's like birth though, right? It's primal, you know, like and once you start entering that prefrontal cortex, once you start getting into that thinking brain, I think you've lost the capacity to be in the sensuality that moment is taking you to. Because I absolutely feel that most of the best sex I've ever had is often when I'm half asleep, is often when I am being woken in the night. And so I'm in that semi kind of conscious state where I'm much more embodied than I am when I'm really awake, you know, in the day. Because that is when I am less able to let that thinking interference, left brain stuff come online as quickly, you know?
Oh, I really do.
And it was almost like the more I was waking up, you know, and the more I was stepping into my safety.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, it is. I'm so so fascinated by this concept of how much can we handle and how much pleasure do we think that we are worthy of, and how safe are we to be nothingness. And you know, there's so much story around our ability to release into another, but mostly fold into ourselves. You know, if you think about the universe being a constant folding in of itself, that's what we're asking ourselves to do.
And how much can you expand before you have to contract? As well, because I mean, that is a natural order too, is of expansion and contraction. But I think just like parenting asks us to widen our window of tolerance, so does our sex.
Yes.
Because we are taken to, with that intention, we're taken to ever greater moments to hold more and be more and show up more. But it is so, you know, taboo to lean in and say, yes, I can experience more, and yes, I am worth more here. Like, you know, it's okay for me to be more rapturous or raptured, or feel more ecstasy in this moment. And for me, that's also mirrored in parenting. Like, how much can you allow your child to fully be? How much do you have to curtail them? How much do you have to
shut it down? Because it doesn't feel safe
because it doesn't feel safe for you, because of whatever fears you're projecting onto the situation, whatever shames and guilt your child brings up for you. Because so much, just like sex, there's so much social pressure and societal injections around who we should be in the world. To the degree to which we've internalized what that looks like is the degree to which we'll project that onto our children. So like sex, how expanded can you be in your sexuality? How much can you be present with the fullness that your child is going to bring to you about who they are?
How much can you be present to your own fullness or your partner's fullness when they bring it to you in sex? Yeah, I just
to me
so
that it's a remarkably profound relationship that motherhood and womanhood, when we look at how we show up in those spaces, take us to.
I get so jazzed by this, just even as a concept or an idea, just to really sit with how much. I love this idea of how much can you hold, how expanded is your body beyond its physical sense, how much can you go outwards before you need to come inwards. And this is totally where your experience of growing as a woman, or growing within your relationship, or growing within your sexuality is so about. It teaches you how to hold pain and suffering and death as much as it teaches you how to be present and connected, and to open your heart and open it even when it feels painful, or you're facing pain, or you're facing memories, or you're facing numbing out, or you're facing anger, to still choose to open your heart in that. That is what conscious sexuality is. That is how you meet yourself and your partner, is to still choose to open your heart and connect your heart then through your organs of femininity, to actually use that as a power in sex, to use it as a therapy, is also like using it. I mean, you even know, right? You can be having a shitty time in your relationship and you feel really disconnected and you have, forget even about the conscious factor, but you just have amazing sex where you feel great. Doesn't that change how you show up as a woman the next day?
Absolutely.
Doesn't that change how you parent? Doesn't that change the energy that you bring? Because you are the center barometer of that family unit, right? So however you're feeling, whatever your capacity is to anchor, that's kind of the orbit of your family. And yes, there's dynamic, and yes, we're always going to hit those parts, but the more you can hold, the more everybody has the capacity to grow around you as well, and to show up in ways that they weren't previously able to, because that was too condensed within you.
And, you know, and that perhaps your ability, your capacity to experience the full range of emotion was limited. Because just like sex asks us and our relationship asks us to be with more, so does our parenting. Because just like sex is asking us to grow into our discomforts and to feel more and to experience a broader range of feeling if we're wanting to really grow in that journey, so is our parenting. You know, it's asking us to really consider, how long can you be with those uncomfortable feelings? Because in fact, the longer that you can be with that challenge, the longer you can be with those edges that feel hard in relationship with your children, the moment that, for every moment that you stay longer in that is every moment that you are healing yourself and your child.
So true.
And the same is true for sex. The same is true for how long we can stay in those sensations that take us to edges that we would normally shut off from. The more we stay there, the more we're able to expand and create new capacity in our sexuality. And I think it's such a beautiful and profound way to look at things, that in fact, just like every area of life is calling us to grow, and there are patterns in every area of life, the more that we can bring courage to our parenting, the more we're creating proof for ourselves that we can also bring that same courage into our sexuality and our relationships, because they are one and the same in different forms.
And in our relationships, we are the child.
Yeah, aren't we? As we touched on last week, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we get this opportunity to grow up and parent our children, and to broaden our window of tolerance, and then literally to parent ourselves within our relationship. And none feels more naked than our sexuality, right? None feels more central to who we are than how we connect through sex or disconnect through sex.
Absolutely.
And when I think about it, the more that I've been able to do what we're talking about, Bridget, the more I think some of the most connected, incredible sexual experiences I've had have been born out of deeply uncomfortable and awkward situations with my partner. How long can you stay there?
Yeah.
How long can you parent to yourself? How long can you ask yourself to open, to weep, to rage, to be seen with your full heart? Because when it's not that you are or are not anything, it's the blocks that are in the way.
Yeah.
And the more you widen this window of tolerance, the more, as you're saying, you have every moment you stay there is a moment that is healing, that is repatterning, that is opening you up. And the more you open, literally, the more you open.
Yeah.
The more ecstasy you can reach, the further in the sky and the stars you go.
And the more of life you're present to, and the more of life you feel and are able to be in. Because so often when we're not able to be in a feeling, we are no longer in the present anymore, because we're looking for a way to escape it.
Or we're running a past.
But whatever we're doing, we're not there anymore.
No.
We're checking out. Whether we're checking out into whatever past story we've got, or we're distracting with something, in the future.
So I'm wondering, Bridget, because you came up with this gorgeous title, What Sex Teaches Us About Parenting, what do you think it teaches about parenting? Or conversely, what would you like parents to know about their sex life and how it filters into their parenting?
I think that it's teaching us to become more whole. That is, to come home to more parts of ourselves that we have along the way closed off to because they weren't safe or because we didn't feel okay enough. But I think just like our parenting is trying to reveal to us through our children who want us to be the most authentic versions of ourselves, our sex life is calling that out of us too. It's just in a different way. But I think it's beautiful to look at both of those.
Can I just press pause just for a second and talk to you just for a second, segue on authenticity, because I really valued this conversation you and I had today about this concept of our children calling us into deep authenticity. I'm just wondering if you can stay a little longer there and maybe break that down for our listeners.
So the more and more I expand this idea of what is conscious parenting, and the more and more I deepen into seeking to be as present as I can to my children and notice where I judge myself and where I struggle and start to unpack what those stories are, the more I realize that they are trying to get us to show them what it looks like to be in it, the full range of human emotion. Because we are how they learn about life, and they're calling us to connect to all of those parts of ourselves and learn to love those parts of ourselves so that they can learn to love those parts of themselves. And that, to me, I find it so profound, because I think we don't realize how much we try to morph ourselves into better versions of who we are, or I'll be okay when I'm that, or if I just stop doing that, then I'll be better. But actually, all of us is okay, and our children want us to see ourselves the way that they see us. And I think that in many ways, I think our partners want us to see ourselves the way that they see us, because we are perfectly whole as we are. And when we can lean into the discomfort that our sexuality asks of us as much as we can lean into the discomfort that our parenting asks for us to just stay that little longer, I think we can begin to build evidence that we're okay. It's okay to go here and change our story, which is ultimately what it's all asking of us.
So love that. And I just want to say something else that you and I were talking about this afternoon in terms of authenticity was we were talking even about you and feeling moments of rage and anger with getting your daughter to sleep when she was resistant. And you had said to me, and then it kind of hit you that she's calling you into deeper authenticity because you're feeling this rage on some level you're making it not okay and it's not her problem and it shouldn't be here.
Totally.
And it's my job to be this mother. But what our children are doing in each of these moments when you extrapolate it out in your life is saying, give me the real.
Yeah.
Tell me what's under the surface because I can feel one thing but I can see or hear another. Yeah. And what that doesn't align in my mind and in my body.
I need the real you. I need to see what's really here.
Yeah. And so they press these buttons, they do the exact behavior, the way that the dynamic in how it works is constantly kind of flushing out the real us.
Yes.
Give it to me because it's not real and I can feel it. And
and I will keep pressing this button for you until I get what's real there, until I get beneath all of the shoulds that you've put upon yourself and upon your behavior, until I get beneath that and see the truth. I'm not getting an authentic picture here. And that's what they're asking of us. And so for me, like I'd worked a lot around this guilt and shame that I was holding around the way that I'd been like rageful at Sylvie around sleep in the middle of the night because
Which I feel like is such a shared experience for so many mothers.
Totally. And I think, we so often feel bad about how we weren't able to manage our emotions around it, and we weren't able to see that they're struggling and the reality is, like, they're taking us to our own implicit memories. They're taking us to our own disowned parts, of our own childhood. And so it's going to be fucking painful sometimes. And so I was really sitting with, okay, well, what was the benefits to her of that experience? What was she seeking to learn from that? Because if we look at every relationship as a dynamic where there is no, kind of wrong person, because both people are working on the dynamic and
on each other. Yeah.
I had this incredible, I was writing them out. I sort of knew I wanted to write 20 to 50 kind of benefits, so I could really start to see a shift and see the other side that I wasn't seeing, right? And I only got to the second one. I had this wave of awakening, and I was like, she's looking for the template in her brain to lay down for anger. What does anger look like? How do I embody anger unapologetically?
How do I make it safe?
How do I make it safe? What does it look like to me to be deeply congruent and angry? And how do I get my mum to show me that?
It's like stand in your sacred ground, isn't it?
Yeah, because in some of those moments, I was fucking furious.
But also not congruent, because feeling one thing but squashing yourself to fit the form of another thing.
Yeah.
As opposed to having an authentic experience. And I'm not saying you're going to wail on your kids.
No.
I'm not saying you're going to unleash the beast in your anger.
But this was a firm boundary that I am done right now.
Yes.
I have had enough.
Yes.
I need to take a moment because this is not working.
Yes. But it's the stand in your, make this safe in this body, not the story you carry about it, not the sensation that triggers old memories. It's stand this sacred ground, because when you feel an emotion in its authenticity, it's motivating you towards something that isn't congruent and aligned with you right now.
Yeah, and it's calling you into empowerment, because that's also because we can be deeply empowered in our anger, and so that's I mean, how much does that serve our children to know what it looks like and see that it's okay to really own it when you're angry and stand in an empowered state in that.
And say, no, you will not. Yeah. How does that serve them?
And how else do they get that unless that's authentically roused from someone? You don't get to explain what anger looks like. That needs to be seen and felt. And I mean, children sense the world. They learn from what they feel through us. I mean, 80% of what they learn from us is what they feel.
It's sensory.
It's sensory. It's not all the lovely ways we might want to construct a sentence, as much as we might think that that's so important. It's actually our sense of alignment in ourselves and our congruence or lack of congruence. That is what they're learning from. So it was really beautiful to see, that these examples, when we lean into them, of how that can be what authenticity looks like, and that is what our children are asking of us to be. And that's what our sexuality is asking for us
just about to say, it's exactly what our partnership dynamic is asking as well, is this doesn't feel congruent. Give me the truth and the truth and the truth, and open your heart. And even when it's painful, let me see you. And even when it's rageful, show me what that is. I just think it's the same dynamic. We're constantly rubbing against these souls who are calling us into ever greater alignment. It is a gift.
It really is.
How long can you hang in there for?
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful, isn't it? It's beautiful and it's profound and it's very messy. And that's what makes it beautiful and profound. And you don't get beautiful and profound unless it comes with the mess either.
Because there's a breaking open to get there.
Totally. We could just keep going. Now we're just energetically feeling each other rather than even communicating with each other.
Which is not very useful for a podcast.
Not very useful. But I guess what we really want to talk to you about is to stop this cultural lie that sex is in one box over here and motherhood is in the other box over the other side of the room. That they are not separate entities. And the more that you can realize that they are intertwined within you and how one feeds the other, rather than feeling like one takes from the other or can't give then,
yes.
that's really what we want you to be taking this conversation, is to see how they are mirrors of the same experience of you.
Yeah, of you. And they're calling you to show up to more of you. It's not like you do this here and that takes away from there. No, it's all part of a journey of expansion.
Yes.
And widening your sphere of awareness, and life calls you to see
and
that
your
across every
tolerance of ecstasy, your light, and your tolerance of your dark and your shadow, because it is all God, right?
Yeah.
I know we're back on esoteric, but
it's.
I hope you followed along. And by the time this podcast comes out, we will have started Sensuality, Sexuality yesterday, being Monday the 13th. And you can still join in. We are still allowing, if you have already completed L2L, so that you have the foundations of our concepts in workshopping, busting your story, then we would love you to come and join us. We will have the doors open until Thursday. So we are definitely doing a live round once a year of Sensuality, Sexuality, so that we can really commit to having daily conversations that are raw, honest and open, and get us to open more of ourselves. And that's how we want to show up with this intimate group of women too, is just how we would show up with each other.
It is.
And we would love you to come with us. So that's nourishingthemother.com.au/online programs, and you'll find Sensuality, Sexuality.
And we, of course, love your messages and emails and comments.
Oh, and I forgot, we have just opened the doors.
Oh, we have too.
For a woman's circle.
We have. So this has been we've got to minor segue here, but this has been in the making for ages, because we've been getting emails from people wanting to do a retreat with us since Julia was pregnant with Gwen.
Yeah.
But the timing wasn't right. But now Gwen's just turned 1 and we're ready to do one again. So September.
Yeah, September 15. So you can find out about that online, nourishingthemother.com.au in Women's Retreat. I think it's under the workshops tab, actually. So we plan on workshopping with an intimate group of women for 4 hours in Seaford, which is in near the Mornington Peninsula in Victoria, if you are local and you would love to spend 4 hours in person with us in deep experience of what it is to be a woman through ritual. I think we bring form to the formless. We make what it feels to be esoteric and hard on our own. We give it a physical presence and a way to move through that, certainly with our bodies, our minds and our emotions, not choosing one or the other. So that's what we really want to bring together with a group of women over 4 hours, and we hold great reverence for what women can do in circle that is unobtainable on our own.
Yeah, it's going to be beautiful.
And to connect with you, Bridgie,
it's suburbansandcastles.com, and you, Jules,
is thepleasurenutritionist.com.
Remember to nourish the woman to rock the family.
And we'll see you next week when we continue to peel back the layers on your mothering journey.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/TheWellnessCouch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives.
Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.